Let's do it.
Cool. So I'm here with Phil Mansfield and Jowsey. It's Mike at 3D. We're just going to ask them a few questions. We thought while they're in, we're going to pick their brains a little bit, ask them a few questions on the spot. So they don't even know what questions are coming just yet. So this is Phil, this is Jowsey. For people that don't know, most people know who they are anyway. So what we're going to ask them today are just a few things that I kind of see from a CrossFitter and from a CrossFit coach perspective on what they offer and what they do, and maybe some things that they could potentially fix, make better, and go from there. So, first thing I thought would be quite interesting. I don't know if you know, but Phil and Jowsey work for a company called 3D People. 3D People has been going for a long, long time now. I got myself educated with them, I think, on about 8 years ago now, something like that.
2009 or 2008.
Yeah.
I was 8. I was a year after.
I was a year after, so 2009.
Yeah.
So. RedPill Training now is part of a seminar delivery system, isn't it, for 3D People, where you can go to CrossFit boxes and kind of educate them on movement and movement dysfunction and fixing and correcting.
It's actually quite a broad seminar series, because we were also up into obviously Phil's background now predominantly in working with world-class Ironman cyclists, triathletes. So we're actually obviously then got aerobic capacity-based seminars, run-based seminars, one learn to run better, swim better, cycle better if it's just. So real global kind of look at fitness, recreation, activities, and because when we understand the principles, we can apply it to any sport that we want to do. So
absolutely. I think, for me being a student of 3D People, one of the key things I always say it gave me was my bullshit alarm, because a long time ago you taught me very good principles, and it tends to be actually at the moment this word principle seems to be a bit of a buzzword, doesn't it? Where for me I can look at somebody's course now from what you taught me about biomechanics and movement, and I know when I'm smelling a rat, or when something might be quite not right, or something that I could fix. So actually I think one of the key things I got from you guys delivering seminars to me and teaching me was just kind of what I should be looking for and what actual principles should look like.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think principles is often confused with my principles.
Yeah.
There's the principles of nature.
Yeah.
Those deep, unarguable truths, like we have muscles.
Yeah.
Gravity exists. The laws of physics, Newton's laws. So those unarguable, we can't discuss them. There's a principle, and then there's my principles.
Yeah.
I would like to be a good dad.
Yeah.
I like people to have a squat, or I like people to run fast, or they should have aerobic conditioning.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem within the fitness is we have a big mix between my principles and the principles.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's my opinion, it's not a principle, it's one of my principles.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's just in the terminology of introducing or delivering a course. Are we dealing with one of my principles here, or are we dealing with a principle?
Yeah, are we doing undefinable principle? Because like I said, I think a lot of people are almost trying to push their beliefs or their perceptions on how they're steering the industry. But like what you always taught me, well, what a true principle, i.e., let's talk about ground force reaction, how the foot reacts to the floor. You can't deny that gravity's there all the time. And,
Exactly.
Those are principles to me, because those are things that are unchangeable. We can't change that within our environment, but everything else we can. So
yeah, I mean, what you learn in your physics lessons at school pretty much are for the most part, principles, and pretty much everything else is an opinion.
Yeah.
And you see that because it is a common part of the industry, in a sense of people say they've got principles, but then their principles, like I said, is an opinion of I believe in making people stronger. I believe in realigning, just making people more flexible. I believe in making people. I'm a chiropractor. I deal with bones. I'm a physiotherapist. I deal with muscles, and everyone just has their. I know I've generalised a few of the things there, but people have a camp of I work on this part of the body. I work on this part of the body.
Exactly.
But the principles are it's all of it.
Yeah.
It's all of it. It's not one component of it. It's all of it. And that's the principles. Whereas when it's one component, that's this is my principles. I like to work on this aspect.
Yeah, exactly. I see it all the time. I mean, I was talking to a client recently about nutrition protocols, because that tends to be one of those things that people just argue about, religion and politics, and I try not to get involved in, because they were talking about principles of diet and so forth, but they weren't really principles. They were opinions. They were beliefs. And I think that's where we get a little bit confused, and that's where you start confusing the client as well, because I've been told this is fact and this is fact, whereas actually, you've got to look at, is that person delivering you information from one aspect of it, or are they delivering the whole piece? And I think that's where you guys always taught me to make sure that I'm looking at the whole facet of that human, from how they feel inside and what their relationship as a person is, and what their relationship is outside, but also how their body moves, and then all your your principles that are always there, which are gravity and everything else that we spoke about a minute ago, and now you things, but some beliefs and some are actual principles. And people in the industry tend to like buzzwords. At the moment, it was functional for ages. Everyone was functional. Now everyone's suddenly coming up with these principles. But ultimately, like you said, just go back to your science textbooks. Like, what is this? Are you talking about someone's belief, or are you talking about something that is science fact, something that's unchangeable, and the way you look at multiple facets? I found in the past, when I got treated by you guys a long time ago, I'd had like what people call shin splints for a long time, and you didn't look at my shin initially. You looked at my foot, you looked at my hip, you looked at the whole chain. Whereas I'd traditionally gone to physiotherapists and people in the past, and I'd had the insoles in, I'd had basic exercises to help strengthen the ankle and so forth. But it wasn't until I looked at my whole biomechanical system and me as a person that I truly fixed my pain and I got rid of it. Because from there, you guys allowed me to kind of know what was going on with my mechanics and how I needed to fix that. Whereas before, I'd always been told from a foot specialist or an ankle specialist that this was this and this was that, but they were never looking at the whole picture, because there was massive chinks in my chain all the way around, and it was only until you guys fixed those things that the pain started to go. Before that, I was spending lots of money and time all the time buying these protocols and so forth, and I suppose those people that were delivering that information to me were giving me stuff based on principles, but on specific parts of the system rather than the whole system itself.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest issues, is people are confusing strategy, and the strategy comes from the person in front of us.
Yeah.
And that's what strategy am I going to apply? So I've got this work case or this toolbox here, with everything I've ever learned or read or put in. That's in that toolbox here, and that's my strategy. And then I put my understanding of my principles here, which is those unarguable deep truths, no opinion based. And then I hop over here and I've got my toolbox and I've got you. And what I've got to try and do is I've got to try and search through my toolbox based on what I know to be true, and then try to say, okay, how do I then affect or have the best influence, or create, as we like to create, the best environment for your body based on this moving forward. And ultimately that will then lead me to a technique. I'll end up doing something. I think the biggest issue we have is a lot of tools will start over here and then try to work this way.
Yeah.
So they'll try and say, right, okay, I want to base everything around a squat.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to try and fit this athlete into a box which looks like a squat.
Yeah.
And then that squat is going to, that then limits my toolbox to sort of this corner.
Yeah.
And then when I've got all these three things here, I've seen a little bit of results, or I've seen some progress here. Let's say my principle is then everybody has to squat.
Yeah.
Rather than working the other way down the spectrum and saying, okay, well, what do I know?
Yeah.
And working this way, partially said, it is very easy, because it just makes everything so simple. It puts it down into 3 or 4 key core exercises, and makes life a lot easier for us as coaches.
Yeah.
When we go this way, we sort of open up a big box, because we sort of say, well, because of nature, everything's possible.
Yeah.
And then the athlete with a strategy and a toolbox here becomes very confusing. But then we have this millions and millions of options open to us here of what we're going to choose ultimately for our athletes. So I think that's where the confusion comes from. I think when we go this way up, it tends to be very opinion based, very opinion driven, and then we need to somehow justify this.
Yeah.
So we'll just say squatting. Everyone needs to squat is our principle.
Yeah.
But that's a principle. That's their principle. That's not a principle. And for me, there's a huge difference between a principle and my principle.
And that's what the industry, it still drives the industry now, is that people come on and they go, oh, here's this exercise to help fix this muscle in the body. So everyone does this exercise.
Yeah.
So then everyone in the gym, you go along, and everyone's doing banded walks like this, everyone's pulling this, pushing this.
Yeah.
They're all doing the same exercise. But then if you actually do, then you actually figure out and go, who's actually getting that effect? Someone tells you that they're feeling a completely different part of the body to where you were told that exercise is supposed to work and what it's supposed to fix.
Yeah.
And it does nothing. And then when it's done nothing and you've given them all the cues in the world to try and get that part of the body working and it doesn't work, you've now got nowhere to go because it came from like I say, it was the technique, which was somebody's principle of this is how this works, so we do it like this. But then when it doesn't work, it's like, well, you had no principles, which is why that has now you've got nowhere to go. Like you've hit a roadblock, and now you don't know what to do with you.
Yeah, your training wasn't based on principles. Your training was based on a system, and a system that only you know how to deliver. But once you work out that system, you haven't got anything left to deliver because that's all you understood. Yeah, and I think that's what you guys really hammered home to me for a long time as a trainer. But is that what you believe or is that what you see? What can you see? What can you see? And then we looked at it, and it was a difficult journey, and I didn't get it all. Like, by all means, I'm probably 10% there, if that, with you guys and the education that you've got to offer. But it gave me that a little bit of ability to see that actually maybe my toolbox needs to be this big rather than this big, because you can go out there now and buy systems and tools, which are fantastic. Everything's great. If you're empowering somebody and you can help them be a better version of themselves or help them be happier so they can be fit, great. But if you truly want to fix somebody and you've got somebody in pain, then you've got to know where your limits lie and where to hand it off to somebody else, which is why most of my remote programming clients all have got on their, do your Jowsey stuff, do your Jowsey stuff. It's become a word within itself.
But officially a verb.
Yeah, exactly. You should become language within CrossFit. Well, especially UK CrossFit, Jowsey has become like a language. Have you done your Jowsey stuff and have you done your shapes? But I think within that, people don't quite understand it still, because I'll ask you one of my questions now and we'll start building it in. But one of the key things was people are still seeing mobility and strength training and gymnastics, and they're seeing them all as different facets, where sometimes it's all one and the same thing. And that's I want to ask you guys today. So we've already touched on it already, but one of my key questions was, so what makes your way of approaching therapy so different to conventional approaches?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is we drop therapy.
Yeah.
The first thing is if you're in therapy, you're never in therapy, you're always in training.
Yeah.
You might be in pain, and you might not be able to do what's in your program, but you're still always psychologically moving towards something. And that's the first definition: is I'll never have anybody in treatment or in therapy. I'll always have them in training.
Yeah.
We can talk about the psychological side another time, but that's the first definition. And then it's just, what training can you do today?
Yeah.
Where are you on your spectrum? If you want to be here, if you want to be able to run 5 kilometers, and you can run 1, and you've got to get to 5, you've got to learn somehow to run 4 kilometers. Therapy, training, treatment is all the same thing. It's trying to get from here to here. And perhaps it's not getting quicker, perhaps it's not lifting more, perhaps it's not being able to do more push-ups. In this instance, before we can go this way, it's just being pain-free. So the first thing is a mental attitude to say, you're not in therapy, you're just in training. Like, people accept I can't run 5 kilometers, people accept I can't squat 140 kilos, but they don't accept I'm in pain. Part of training, part of being an athlete, part of life is at some point things are going to hurt. We're not afraid of it, we're not scared of pain. Like, I'm not afraid that I can't run that quickly because it's just something I want to work on. So that's the first thing, is psychologically turning that around and saying it's not a bad thing you're in pain. It's just part of training. Then the next part is to say, well, as you alluded to, strength, flexibility, speed, we need to understand them in their individual components. But when the body moves, they coexist, and they have a direct influence and effect on each other, both positively and negatively, depending on what we do. You go and run long, slow distance, you get slower. You run faster, you can't run as far. And that's obvious. That's, everybody knows it. So they have a balancing act, and I will put my hand on my heart and say 95% of treatment I do is just program readjustment.
So you're just meeting the athlete where they're at in time and space there and then.
I would say 95% of the injuries, and you have those impact injuries. We've just seen one out there where unfortunately a lady dropped a bar on herself and hurt herself. You see those impact injuries which need treatment, operations, that sort of thing. But in terms of overuse and general training pain, it's usually just poor programming, or it isn't usually, it is poor programming. And I think part of us coaches and what we want to get out to coaches and we want to work with coaches on is we're taking credit when my athlete's standing on the podium. I also have to stand to responsibility when my athlete's injured. If they're winning because of me, they're also losing because of me, and they're also injured because of me. And I want to take that responsibility, and not enough coaches do that. It's so unlucky they're injured. It's not unlucky they're injured. You messed up their program. And you know what? We're all human. We all make mistakes. You're allowed to get it wrong. How you need to try and push your athlete as close to the edge as possible. And by being on the edge, sometimes you push them too far. Being brave enough to try and get the best out of your athlete, and not being afraid of that. And then say, okay, look, sorry, I pushed you too far. Take a little step back, and then we go again next year, or we try and improve that. And taking fear away. The pain and fear relationship away from each other. And then as coaches, it's going to take more responsibility in our programming, because as you say, the elements of fitness coexist as one when we're training. And so I would say it's very rare I put my hands on people anymore. It's very, very, very rarely I would ever say, right, you need treatment.
Is that kind of almost like you putting it, if you feel like psychologically that person needs to be for treatment because now they'll feel like they're on a path to recovery, you might put that arm around them and say, okay, we're going to do a bit of treatment. But 9 times out of 10 you're like, come on, right, we're training, this is what we're doing, and this is how training's going to look while we're waiting for that pain to reduce and we can fix it.
I mean, I've got a good example is I've got a world-class athlete at the moment, a girl who's a fantastic athlete, and she is doing really, really well, and had some sort of neurological symptoms. Sort of couldn't really put it, but the sort of left leg felt a little bit weak, and wouldn't go as far as saying it's an injury. In my world, the best thing for her is that she teaches herself to be out of that. So I can crack, I can crunch, I can move, I can manipulate, I can massage, I can do all these things. And they're my tools. But the best I can do for her is that her body herself finds the way. She trains it out. When I say train, I don't mean that people do instantly when you say train, think of training hard. I'm not saying train hard. What I'm saying is train so that your body understands everything that we're asking of it. And if we're going down and down a path where I just feel like my hands would just encourage a little bit of motion, or just some form of small release here or there, would just open that, would just allow that motion, then I'll do that. But I'm very hesitant to put my hands on people. I'm very hesitant to say, now I'm going to release you. Maybe we shouldn't be so negative to that. We've all been to the magic shows in our industry where you've got idiots rubbing people with guitar picks. And
wiggling their ears,
giving
an extra hamstring flexibility.
And yes, it's the hat and the rabbit and everything else, and
well, that gets me. This is where we're at, isn't it? Because there's an industry, people are trying to sell themselves to make money, which is fine. But if you're truly invested in this industry and want to make it for longevity and have good relationships with clients, then forget the magic tricks. Because you might be able to sign that client up and woo them, but as soon as they see that magic trick didn't work and that pain's back in a second, you didn't fix that person.
Exactly. And that is it. And it comes back to programming daily life every day. Not going after the quick fix, the long goal, the 3-4 year goal. Where is his athlete going? And when I say athlete, I'm not talking about people that want to win the games. I'm not talking about people that want to ride Tour de France. I'm talking about walking through 3D's doors and have never. You were just telling us a story about someone who was sort of half scared, afraid to come in through the door, and now is going to her first competition. That is a long-term plan. That is seeing the bigger picture and working through all of those small things as programming. And not just, putting a hand on and saying, oh, look, you've gone from 10 degrees to 20 degrees. Aren't I great? You're saying, look, okay, you might only get 1 degree today. But gradual training, programming, doing the right thing, staying injury-free, building on success forward and moving forward has that longevity to it. Has that, and for me, consistent training is the key to everything.
Definitely.
It's not how hard you can work in a month. It's how hard you can work over 3 years, and that just gives that deep form, that injury prevention.
I mean, that's where like I say, that programming and that being consistent, and that's the thing is people get a goal and they just go for it. They go straight out of the blocks. They're keen as anything, so they go from I've not done anything for 5 years of my life. I'm going to go start training every day.
Yeah.
And then within a month they're injured.
Yeah.
And it's because you've gone from nothing to 100 miles an hour, 5 times a week, full volume of CrossFit.
Yeah.
When really you weren't ready for that. Like the same as the running scenario. You're trying to run 5K, or you can only run one. Don't go and put 3K through your legs.
Yeah.
Tomorrow you can only run 1K.
Yeah.
Like we'll start with 1K.
Yeah.
And then we'll just push it up gradually, rather than it just being from here to jumping over.
Yeah, and making sure that your programming is progressive and allowing that person to thrive rather than just survive through the program, which is a big problem, isn't it?
A lot of the work I'm doing with athletes is looking at the process of their athletic development and trying to get them away from the end goal.
Yeah.
So trying to move that, I want to run 5 kilometres.
Yeah.
Or move that, I want to win here, I want to do that here, and say, look, taking actually the pressure off race day. What we say, look, race day is race day.
Yeah.
You're going to win or you're going to lose. We've all been in sport for long enough to know we lose more than we win.
Yeah.
We play enough rugby matches, football matches, whatever in our lives to know you're not going to win every week.
No.
The important thing is when you're standing on the start line or arriving at the competition, you're in the best nick you could possibly be in at that point. The day's going to take care of itself. Either, like I say, you're going to be standing on the podium or you're not going to be standing on the podium.
Yeah.
The important thing is getting these guys to understand that the process is what's very important.
Yeah.
Getting each day right, just being a little bit better tomorrow, being a little bit better the next day. Every training session, just add a little bit more.
Yeah.
And you know what? When you stand on the start line, you stand there and you think, well, going into the regionals or the games or whatever, and I'm thinking, I can't be better than I am.
Yeah.
So maybe there's someone better than me, but that doesn't matter because I can't be better than I am today. So actually my competition just becomes irrelevant. It's about having that sort of trust in yourself and your coaching team and saying, look, my processes have been right, and moving that end finite, all or nothing pressure goal that says, okay, we fail, and if we don't do it, we fail. It's not about that. It's about just getting these little processes right, and it feels good. It really feels good for the guys. And it's all from an injury perspective. It's a far better way. We know what stress does to the body. Yeah,
absolutely. And you see that all the time, don't you? People will say, if I follow this program, then I should get X at the end. And I'm like, but was that program designed for you? Did it have in mind how your body moves? Did it see you? Because if it didn't see you, then it's a flawed program from the start, before you've even started it. And
it's just numbers and statistics.
And you're throwing people through a system and you're hoping that they survive through your system. Whereas what I see from you guys' perspective is to have that true trust from a coach where you know that you can offload everything that you want from them and you can look after them from, let's call it a therapy side. Because like you said, is it therapy training, is it strength training? Are they both one and the same thing? Is it mobility, is it strength, is it this, is it that? They're all the same facets. Absolutely. And if your coach can truly deliver you every single facet of that, then they are now your coach. They are now that person that can look after you. Whereas if all I ever know is, if I'm a squat coach, and I've taught squats, and I've taught toe-out squat with the normal hip position and everything else, and that's all I know, and someone's squat doesn't fit into my criteria, I'm no longer able to fit to actually help anybody other than the people that look like the way I train people. So then I'm only training that facet where you guys are saying you can train them, you can meet them wherever they are, whenever they are, and make sure they're looking after themselves. You can make sure that you're pulling them back and pulling the reins on them when you need to, but you can also just give them a whipping when they need to kind of go harder.
I think you're talking a lot there. What I would say the difference between a coach and a trainer.
Yeah.
A trainer is a guy who writes some spreadsheets. A trainer is a guy who puts some numbers down on the spreadsheet and sends it out by email.
Yeah.
And doesn't really want to talk to you.
No.
A trainer is a guy who has perhaps a specific expertise in a certain area.
Yeah.
Where a coach's job isn't necessarily to write the training program. The coach's job is to oversee the athletic development of that particular athlete. So it's to sit back a little bit and say, right, I appreciate there's all of these elements, and say, right, where's my strength as a coach? Okay, that's these maybe I'll program these areas. Maybe I'll be the trainer in these areas.
Yeah.
But perhaps the coach has a weakness in nutrition. We can't be expected the depth of knowledge.
No.
We shouldn't be expected to have that knowledge in all those areas.
Yeah.
So perhaps it might be, okay, I can look at a clean and I can analyse a clean to a certain angle. Then I would need to have a world expert in, someone who's
Yeah, someone who's in the trenches just doing that movement all the time.
Someone who lives in that all the time. And so okay, I'm going to outsource that. But I'm not going to say to the athlete, can you go and see him?
Yeah.
I'm going to phone him.
Yeah.
And on my terms, here's what I want you to work on, and here's what this athlete needs to improve.
Yeah.
And then it might be that he'll say, look, you've got these two areas as well, which I haven't seen. I can go back, take that into consideration and say, part of the plan moving forward is that comes in at that point.
Yeah.
Rather than allowing that drift off to that person who then gets excited, and it's having that. The coach for me is the person that controls the athlete, that has that sort of the manager, if you like, the oversight, the say of everything. And then when do we outsource? When do we bring it in? When do we send the athlete to see a physiotherapist? When would we send the athlete to see a surgeon? Or when would we send to see a strength and conditioning coach? Or what did it be?
Yeah.
That's what the coach should be doing.
Yeah.
If they're not doing that, they're trainers.
Yeah, you're literally just delivering exercises, which, a ten a penny now. Everybody's doing that. It's like...
Honestly, I'll go on record and say it. A lot of people say, hey Phil, you've run all these marathons and all these Ironmans. Can you write me an Ironman training program? Or can you write me a marathon training program? You know what I tell them?
No.
Go on the internet.
Right.
Google marathon training program.
Right.
Click download and take the first one, because I can't do it better.
Right, yeah.
Because if you want a program, I'm guessing. I don't know your body. I don't know anything about you. You live in Australia or New Zealand or America.
Yeah.
I don't know your body. I don't know you as a person. I don't know I don't know anything about you. I can't assess you. I don't know I don't know if you're stressed in the mornings. I don't know if you need coffee before you get started. I don't know your idiosyncrasies, which make me your coach.
Exactly.
So pretty much, I'm guessing, like every other program in the world that's generic, it's just a good guess. So a lot of the time, we'll just say, look, if that's what you're after, Google marathon training program, click download, just don't use any time searching them, just take the first one, because that's as good a guess as the 10th one.
Well, it's like diet programs or exercise programs. You're going to find some success with any program if you follow it to the letter.
Absolutely.
But at some point, if you're getting problems with it or you're falling apart, you have to ask yourself, is this program designed for me? And therefore, you have to be able to speak to that coach, and we as a coach need to be able to speak back to our client and say, this is why we are doing this, and this is where I'm going to lead you to if you give me the time, but we can do this.
Absolutely.
Whereas I think most people are like, no, this is work for everybody else, so it's going to work for you. And that's where you're becoming not a trainer anymore. You're becoming a trainer, not a coach.
Exactly.
Because you're not looking after that individual that stood in front of you. What you're saying is...
And the thing is that a lot of the time it might be that you look at the program you downloaded from the internet and my program, and they'd have similarities.
Yeah.
And you might even say, well, that's very similar to that. But what you're paying for with your coach is you're paying for them to understand you as a person.
Yeah.
So it might just be it's the same program, but I put it on different days, or I just say it's Tuesday at 4 o'clock because every Tuesday at 2 o'clock you have to pick the kids up.
Yeah.
Those details are what you're paying for in a coach, to understand you as the person, the sort of the psychological elements of what's going into you.
Yeah.
And the training program is, of course, a part of it, but it's such a small part of the global picture that it shouldn't have more emphasis than understanding the person's life, understanding when they tick. I've got guys before 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm someone who thinks everybody should be up training by 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
That's when I like to train. Yeah. But some guys,
just crushes them.
So why would I program that? And that's ultimately what you're looking for in your coach, is someone who can understand you. And the program comes as part of that, not the driving factor in there.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to understand your athlete and what and again, another buzzword, but what is their why at the moment? But I think that's a really important question, because if you don't know why that person's there and stood in front of you, then you've kind of lost the battle anyway, because half of it, again, like diet, nutrition, training, whatever, all of it is about getting somebody to just comply with the program, isn't it? To believe in the program and follow it to the letter. And if you are literally just kind of there, kind of writing a generic plan, then you're not taking into account how that person maybe feels about the program. Maybe, sometimes you've got to understand your athlete, haven't you? Do they need a kick up the arse? Or do they need a bit of an arm around them? How's it going today? Do we need to be training today, or do you need to just do a little bit of an easier session?
So what you're talking about, we're talking about the buzzword of the why. It's from Man's Search for Meaning. I don't know if you've read the book. It's a fantastic book. Highly recommended. Everybody use the time to read. A very quick read about a guy who's living in Auschwitz and how he lost his family and everything else, and would have been very easy for him just to give up, but had to find some form of why to live. And he's a psychologist, and his theory is, we can sustain or absorb any how as long as we have a why.
Yeah.
You know, so that's pretty much it. The how is irrelevant as long as we have a why. But if we don't have a why, the how will end up killing us.
Yeah.
And the problem with it is why so many generic training programs and so many horrible to say bad coaches work is these athletes are so dedicated. Their why is so there.
Yeah.
They want to be so successful themselves. They endure any kind of how.
Yeah.
So you've got athletes out there torn to pieces, in wrecks, with a coach at the end of the ring, you know, looking good.
Keep going,
push, keep pushing. Yeah. And you know what? Their why is so powerful. And as he writes in the book, he found a why. He found a why to live. So he'd lost his family, he'd lost everything. He was getting a small piece of bread for breakfast and a half a bowl of soup for dinner and working 12-hour days. Sleeping with a shoe as a pillow, in a bed with 9 other men, sharing one blanket. And in that environment, he found a why. So his point is, I found a why, so the how of going through that wasn't easy, but was bearable. Yeah. And that, not to such an extreme, but that's exactly what we're doing to the athletes, is that they have this all-powerful why. Yeah. They want to get better. They're so driven by their goal. They're so inspired. They're so dedicated. And they're so inspiring for us that they're enduring the how. Yeah, they're
kind of putting themselves in the hole just to get there because their belief system is so powerful that they'll do that.
Exactly, and that's why ultimately programming is working. Yeah,
I mean, you guys are so it's so educated compared to myself, and when I sit there, I'm on this long journey. I've been a trainer 13 years now. And some days, even though I've been doing it a long time, I'll sit there in front of my laptop when I'm programming for my clients, and I sometimes can scratch my head for an hour before I've even put anything down on paper. Because you've got to think about those principles, sometimes thinking, is this appropriate for that individual? Whereas, what I see a lot of in CrossFit at the moment is anybody can go and buy a competition program. And there's many of them out there, and I'm not saying any of them are bad. What I'm saying is that competition program is written for everyone, and that's where it becomes a bit of an issue because it's not for you. And is it truly taking into account everything that you're feeling on that day, how your body's feeling over that week, that 6-week course, that 12-week course? How much dialect are you getting back from your coach? Is that a problem?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's like part of it. The program's written there, and it's not the program writer's fault. Like maybe it's a program written by themselves, for themselves and their training, and they're good enough to do it. They know how they're executing the movements. The problem is people's kind of levels of where they're at, their understanding of like, oh, I'm here, I'm definitely ready for that competition program. It's like, no, you want the program, but you aren't ready for the program. Like you don't have an overhead squat, so why are you snatching 5 times a week? Like you need to build the you can only run 1K, you've not got 5K. That's the universal part of CrossFit. It's like, why are you snatching? Get the fundamental, get the level before the level. You're still training. You might feel like it's the therapy, but it's not. This is training. This is how you train to be able to snatch. I always say to my athletes when we're describing stuff, I'm like, I know you want, like, cause going through the season, they want to be wadding, like, because CrossFit is the sport, right? It is about doing wads. But I'm like, a footballer, so football's my game, well, football, rugby, any sport, they are not doing that event, that finality, every single day at that match intensity. They're doing set pieces, they're doing all those small components to build the perfect game come Saturday. Like, they don't just go, we'll just play 90 minutes every day. And hopefully by Saturday,
hope to get better.
And hope to get better at it.
Well, you've got, because you've had, like, I've seen it on t-shirts, like, kick the tree, and I know where that's from, but I remember you going back to the seminars that used to teach me and stuff, it's like kicking the ball. It's like, how many thousands of times did you kick the ball? Because, running up the field and trying to score the goal is very different where you just stood on one spot and kicking the ball that way and kicking the ball the other way. But it's all those million kicks that make that complete footballer, aren't they? And, like, going back to a CrossFitter, it's like, I think a lot of the time for them, what they're missing is the coach, because they've gone for the online program now, which is great. But if you're not getting any dialect, the biggest problem for anybody or athlete I see is they shouldn't be in control of themselves. Because I know what I'm like with myself. and you guys probably, you need a professional to be.
Everybody needs a coach.
Yeah, you need someone looking after you, don't you?
It's the biggest mistake anybody can make in the world is to assume they can coach themselves or program for themselves.
Yeah.
It is mistake number one.
Yeah.
I have someone who programs for me.
Yeah.
I program for you.
Yeah.
And that's how it has to be.
Yeah.
You know, you just cannot self-coach, and it's the biggest mistake you can ever think about.
Yeah.
It's worse to self-coach than it is to buy an online generic program.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the mind needs some kind of parameters to
you need someone to be there putting the brakes on or charging you up when you need to be, don't you? One of my next questions. So what are your thoughts on people keeping mobility as a separate component of their training? Are you strength training after mobility or vice versa? One of the big things I see is, and especially like people go, I'm going to do my mobility now, and they go into the corner, and whether it's foam rolling or doing exercises, they do 10 minutes of mobility work, but then you do an hour of strength training and an hour of conditioning. And I'm like, well, if we're going to segregate this stuff down, if mobility is holding you back, but you give it 10 minutes of your program a day, but you give me an hour of weightlifting, you give me an hour of conditioning every single time, then you're almost answering your own question why your body's not working. But would you say that people should be segregating mobility? Is mobility and strength the same? Can we do that all together? Is there a better way of doing it? So there's a lot of questions. But
no, that's fine.
I've got a slightly different take on the answer, but you can answer the first part if you like. No.
I'll do it. The idea was to put me on the spot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's very much about who is the person in front of me.
Yeah.
I think as soon as you conceptualise anything, and say always this before this and never that with that, you are wrong.
Yeah.
You're going to put yourself in a mess. For me, there's also the whole. Who are we talking about? We're talking about elite competitive athletes, or we're talking about people that are having fun, and there's that side of it as well, which I think is quite important to talk about. If you're only as strong as your weakest point. It's a cliche. You're only as strong as your weakest point. So, there's so many times swimming, power clean, doesn't matter what it is. When we start getting more and more technical, you can be as strong as an ox. Your technique lets you down. That's where your stopping point is.
Yeah.
So where do I get the most use out of the next minute of my time?
Yeah.
And so I think, as you say, you answered the question a little bit yourself. Was that when is if we agree a hip angle in a clean gives greater power at angle A versus angle B.
Yeah.
I can do all the strength programming, all of the sort of complex protocols of strength training to try to improve 1 or 2 or 3%.
Yeah.
But if we agree as a sort of coaches union that angle produces the most power and I can't get to that angle, my focus should be on just getting to that angle.
Yeah.
Now, if that's mobility that's lacking somewhere, then that's what I would work on in that situation. Yeah. The best example I can give is if we're 4 people lifting a table and we're 2 guys lifting and 2 guys slacking.
Yeah.
The 2 guys that are lifting, it's those guys that get tired, it's those guys that get stressed. And the 2 guys who are doing nothing, those guys, they're just smiling. In an office environment, the one person who's working 6 in the morning to 7 at night, it's him or her that goes down with stress at the end of the week. It's not the other guys on Facebook throwing paintballs at each other.
Yeah,
those guys are the party, And so muscular imbalance isn't more complex than that. Mobility isn't more complex than that. It's, okay, this is the optimal position for that squat or that clean or swimming or whatever. This is how it looks now. How do I get there? What's the best way to get there for me? So there's often the question is when is a stretch a strength exercise?
Yeah.
Because if I stretch soleus, just to pick a muscle, and that gives me more ankle dorsiflexion, which allows me to come a little bit further forward with my knees, which gets me a little bit deeper into my clean, which then allows me to get that productive angle or that force angle we're looking for, and my clean goes up with 5 kilos. My soleus stretch was a strength exercise. Yeah. So there, as you rightly say, I'm better off using half an hour to get that hip angle, because I can just bang my head against the wall or kick the tree for as long as I want to. But I'm never going to knock the tree down. I'm never going to get better because I'm blocked. So it's again about being a little bit smarter rather than, smashing your head against the wall and saying, what's the right thing to do? Where's the best use of my time in this environment?
I think it's like where I was going to come from on that is people's understanding of what we talked about earlier in the conversation was techniques. Like, if we stick somebody with a PVC pipe over their head and do an overhead squat, or maybe let's say it's a training bar, and they're struggling to get the range of motion, am I doing a strength exercise or am I doing a stretch? Like, because it's a squat, so it must be strength. But for this person, it's a stretch. But if we stick more weight on it, it's a strength exercise. So you can perceive it how you want to perceive it. Just because you're not shifting 50 kilos overhead on your overhead squat, you're only doing a training bar. You are stretching, but you're also strengthening everything whilst it's moving.
Absolutely.
And that's that. We've touched on it multiple times in the conversation of like, movement is all encompassing. You are doing all those things at that time. So it's getting caught up in the, sometimes that technique doesn't look like the overhead squat. Sometimes it can. But like I talked about people that I was treating away this weekend, and like I talked to people, I've seen this guy for like his third session in like a year, and the guy's in his mid-50s, 60 years old, and I've got some great kind of footage of how his squats developed and his range of motion, like from as simple as his rack. He was like, oh, my rack position's not really improved much, but then we put the pictures side by side and his angle's exactly the same, but on the first picture he's leaning back to get that angle, on the second one his spine's completely straight. So you've got all these factors, but it's that effort of, if I turn around to you and said, I'm going to make your squat bigger, like, so you're going to do a 12-week squat program, like, and you're going to squat 3 times a week and the 90-minute sessions, people will go do that. Like, you've come from no training, right? You've never squatted before. Okay, in 12 weeks' time, I'm going to give you a 200-kilo squat. That doesn't happen. Like, people will laugh at me saying that. Exactly. So if you've not got the range of motion, what gives you the, like, why do you think it's conceivable that doing the 15 minutes is going to give you all the range that you've lost in 20 years of not training? You want that, like this, but you're happy to work for 5 years to get a 200-kilo squat. Like, people kind of just, they can't link the picture, see the picture, and dedicate that. Put the influence in the right box that they need. They're happy to do the fun stuff. But understanding that this stuff will actually give them the end goal anyway, but they lose perspective on how quickly that happens. It's training. Training takes time. Nobody became the best in the world after 5 weeks. Like, so who's to think, why are you going to adapt so quickly? Like, it is just accepting and focusing and having the coach to make things realistic and understand, look,
and that's where you'll train coaches at, to understand that, rather than, I think that's where CrossFit as a whole, and this is where leading on to the next question, which is like, I think it's basically, what are the biggest things you see holding CrossFitters back from achieving what they want from their training? Because for me, as a coach, I see a lot of things that are holding them back, but I'd like to hear your opinion on it. So when I'm talking, we use the term athletes with everyone through what's we talk, but when I say athletes, I'm talking about our day-to-day athletes, our weekend warriors, or people that have come in off the streets that have never done any training before. What are the biggest things that are holding them back that you see that it could change?
But for me, it's probably actually just continuing on that where I just was, really, is the thing holding them back is the realistic expectation of what they can achieve. Of where they are right now. That's and where they need to put the time. But then that's where the training and their goals, their why needs to be aligned. Like, is it really important for them to snatch? So do they need that? Do they need the biggest snatch in the world? So therefore, do they need, how much time do they want to put in? But it's people wanting too much too soon. That holds them back, because they do too much too soon, and then they're injured. And then they fly back into it again as soon as they've remotely kind of got a little bit of pain free. doing an assessment. It's like, right, okay, well, I can bring on your back pain by you standing on one leg and doing a single leg deadlift.
Yeah.
So with 5 kilo dumbbell.
Yeah.
So is 100 kilos repetitively in a WOD going to hurt you? Yes. Okay, well, if I can do it here, then this is definitely going to do it.
Yeah.
But this needs to come a lot closer to the performance that we need before you're pain free. Whereas people go, that's pain free now, so I should be able to train. Oh, it happened again.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you went from there to there again.
Yeah, perfect. That sounds good. I mean, my last question, which we could link all this to, so RedPill Training or 3D People, and the way you're delivering information to coaches, which is then going to be passed on to. What would you like to see as your biggest change in the industry? How would you like to change the industry? What would you like to see more of?
I think it links nicely with how you just say it. Jowsey's talking a lot about patience there.
Yeah.
And that's the key word is to having the patience and going back to that process. That's what I would like to get out there is that world champions take time.
Yeah.
So. And these guys adapt quickly.
Yeah.
So your adaptations take time.
Yeah.
And I think what I would really like to get out is, for me, I could never, ever walk up to anybody in any box in the world and give them advice. You will never at any point see me, and you'll testify to this, I can walk into a box and I can see some shocking things going on. But I will never be arrogant enough to assume that person isn't doing it for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing we would like to change that, look, worry about your own training.
Yeah.
You go and worry about your training with your coach, and let's leave everybody else alone.
Yeah.
Because what we're seeing and what we're fighting against daily is just a plethora of confused athletes.
Yeah.
People that they don't know left from right because they open this and you've got a half the world saying if it's not evidence-based, if it's not 100% proved in the university laboratory, you should never do it. And you've got these guys over here, no education, nothing at all, gave one guy a squat with a toe in and it works, so shouting to the rest of the world, you all need to be doing this. And just thinking, look, me and my athletes, we keep our house here. We'll look after ourselves and I'll work with them. And if they one day think I'm not the right person for them, then I'll shake their hand and say, good luck with your next coach.
Yeah.
The patience comes from the fact that these guys are being pushed and shouted at and advised. You can't walk into a triathlon club, a cycling club, a CrossFit club without meeting, a CrossFit box, without meeting 17 experts that know everything about everything.
Yeah.
Look, get your head down, worry about your training.
Yeah.
When you're world champions, then look at the guy next to you and say, would you like some help? Don't help them, ask them, would you like me to help you?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
And look, I'm lucky enough to be called an expert. I don't consider myself an expert at all.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky enough to be called that, and I could never stand on the side of a swimming pool and go over to someone and say to them, I think you should do this with your swimming. If they come to me and say, Phil, would you help me? Oh, pleasure, I'd love to help you.
Yeah.
But that, for me, is what we'd like to change. We'd like to change the attitude. In the medical world, in the other communities, you need to go through the due diligence, the due process of being respected in your field and being what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's what we'd like to do. We'd like to work with coaches who would like to work with athletes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
let's make coaches brilliant. Let's make coaches love their jobs.
Yeah.
Let's make coaches make great athletes. Let's make coaches that have athletes that focus on processes, that just want to be a little bit better every day, are humble enough to be a little bit better every day, and let's just work on that process. And you know what? Everybody else out there, carry on doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's our goal. That's what we want to do. We want to work with nice, like-minded people who want to better athletes, not get likes on Facebook.
Yeah, it sounds like you are. Yeah, it's true though. Right. I mean, you guys are too busy probably working in the trenches, just working with your own clients, and not promoting yourselves that way. But you've got this massive name for yourselves now, and so many people in the UK and you're traveling all over the world now, helping people, and it's just doing it off good work, isn't it? And I think the way you say you like to work with people, the way you like coaches to work with people is just like meeting them where they're at. I think that's where you kind of work with coaches as well. You meet the coach where they're at. Absolutely. You met me where I was at the time. I was very new back then. And you met me where I was at and you gave me enough education that I could handle then to then progress me. And I think that's where I'd see, you guys kind of being able to help people, is you can help coaches kind of find where they're at right now and get that a little bit more educated, and then hopefully have that better relationship with the client, that with the member, and go from there. Cool. Yeah.
It's great to be back at 3D again.
It's been a while, mate.
I've not been over.
It's been a while for James as well. Is it a big deal now? He's been on BBC One.
Massive deal.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen before, anyway, like there's kind of different levels. If you're a Star Wars geek like me, kind of he's a bit Obi-Wan, but we've got Yoda here right now, so like the tanned individuals but between them now, it's kind of this real big collective, and the more kind of people that come through the RedPill 3D people continuum will be better for us all, I think. Cool.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It'll be good.
We're having some fun.
We're having a lot of fun.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks a lot, guys, and
Cheers,
hopefully
mate.
see you soon.